Welcome to Smithfield in London and the church of St Bartholomew the Less. This church really is the little brother to St Bartholomew the Great just round the corner, and it's very unique in terms of churches. It's the only remaining parish church in London which sits solely inside the grounds of a hospital, the hospital being St Bartholomew's Hospital next door. And again, it was another one of those churches founded by the monk Rahir, the same man who founded St Bartholomew's the Great. And it was founded in 1123 to serve basically as a chapel for the people who were in the hospital, either the people who worked in the hospital or the patients. Now, most of the interior of this church is relatively new in comparison to when the actual church was built. It was unfortunately mostly destroyed in 1830 when a fire sort of ripped through the whole building and sort of more or less gutted the entire of the inside of the church. However, this church does have some unbelievably unique features. For example, the ceiling is octagonal, which is really rare in church buildings. Could do with a little bit of TLC, but as you can see there, it's got that beautiful octagonal shape, and it all comes down into a centre point where the great chandelier hangs from the middle. For years, patients were brought down to the chapel to be read their last rites, and the sort of hospital theme continues all the way through the church. For example, there's this beautiful stained glass window which is dedicated to the women who were the nurses during World War II. Their names are written on the left-hand panel, and of course on the right-hand panel shows the nurse at prayer. The window on the opposite side of the church honours the men and women who were the doctors and surgeons. Now, there was a little tradition amongst the surgeons at Bart's. After a particularly difficult operation, they'd walk straight from the theatre to the chapel and ring the bell in thanks. And it became a kind of unofficial, I didn't lose a patient signal. And this continued right the way through the 18th and the 19th century among the surgeons and the doctors at Bart's Hospital. There's a beautiful stained glass window above the altar which shows Christ and the Virgin Mary. And of course, this window also honours Rahir and St Bartholomew themselves. And an interesting little side note, this church still has a charnel house, or a bone house as it was called back then, which was essentially a room where skeletons were kept when the church graveyards were overcrowded. There are memorials for the former vicars, rectors and parishioners of the church, as well as this gorgeous marble font, which was repurposed from one of the hospital's old surgical tables and was installed in the 19th century when the hospital was remodernising. And it really is the perfect symbol for the church's role inside a hospital. Life, death, healing and faith all tangled together. I have to say, this church really is a real hidden gem, and it's such a beautiful little church. It's very small, very tiny, but it really ornately decorated and beautiful. And the courtyard outside the church is just full of these little picnic benches and tables, and you just see members of staff from the hospital just coming out to have lunch, talk with friends, or just come and sit in the peaceful courtyard and reflect. If you're in the area or you're visiting someone in the hospital, then come into the church and show it some love. If you enjoy these videos about the churches of London and the UK, then follow along for more on The Pew Review. And also, just a quick thank you to everyone who subscribed, commented, liked my videos. I really am overwhelmed. I can't believe it. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you in the next one.